I made over $1 million from door to door by the time I was 23 years old. In this video, I'll be giving you all of the tips and techniques that you need in order to do the same thing for yourself. Now, most people charge thousands of dollars for this stuff, but I am doing it all for free. So what I'm looking at right now is my earnings for summer of 2024. In about 4.5 months, I made $310,000 right around. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and each year I made more and more money. So door to door is very simple. The whole idea is that you're doing sales that are direct to the consumer, meaning you go around, you have a product, you're working with the company, you knock on homes, pitch your product or service to the customer, and essentially print money. The money-making potential doing sales and commission-based sales, especially in door-to-door, is pretty much limitless. It all depends on the amount of work that you put in and how much you can produce. You can easily pull 5, 6, even 7 figures doing this in a single season. The whole idea is that if you have a good enough product and you can communicate the value, then you can create transactions through the sales that you make. From those transactions, your company will then pay you based on how much revenue typically that you produce to the company itself. The nice thing about door-to-door is that because it's introductory, meaning there's no barriers for entry, anybody can do it and anybody can be successful. You don't need a college degree. You don't even need a GED. I have a lot of people that I work with, and a lot of my own reps didn't even finish high school. They dropped out and then decided to get into sales in one form or another. Door-to-door is essentially one of the best ways for you to develop a bunch of real-world experience that you can apply to the rest of your life. You become a better communicator, you develop actual discipline in its true meaning, and you have sales skills that can be transferred. Sales is everywhere. Whether or not you know it, you are either being sold or selling someone pretty much every time you have a real-world interaction. And so putting yourself in a position where you can be immersed in that for an extended period of time consistently, but also benefiting from it financially is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to approach life. Now, I finished college. I actually have a degree in political science, so I'm not hating on any of that. But one thing that I was super blessed to have been able to do is go out every summer and be involved in door-to-door sales. So I've been within it for almost 5 years now, and I started right after my sophomore year of college over the summer. So I would go to school in the spring and the fall, and then I would go out for the summer and knock on people's doors. By the time I was in my senior year, I was making more money than the professors whose classes I was sitting in. And that doesn't come from a place of vanity or, egoism. It's really interesting because the same people that would tell you and tell me not to do door-to-door, the same professors, the same teachers that were like, you should stick to what you're doing, stick to the political science, go get an internship to helping out a campaign or in some law firm over the summer. Then all of a sudden saw the success that I had and quickly were asking me questions to share it with other people in my groups. Mindset in door-to-door is the name of the game, right? When you're talking to people consistently, your brain needs to be on lock. Okay? It has to clock to you. Again, as I said before, in order to make money in door-to-door, you have to communicate the value of the product that you have. Now let's talk about it. Mindset can be split up into 3 main points. First, you have your emotion, you have the consistency, and then you have your goals. What people fail to realize coming out to door-to-door is that rejection is part of the process. You're talking to 100 people just to get one person to say yes, meaning 99 will say no. Most people break after the first couple people that say no. And it's something that you have to learn both by practice and just by visualization. Understanding that people will say no to you no matter how good of a salesperson you are. That's something that I struggled with quite a bit my first year. I was not used to being told no. I was pretty good at everything else that I was doing outside of door-to-door. And so coming into an industry where I was no longer the hot shot was very difficult for me to adjust to. You have to detach emotion from the outcome of what it is that you're trying to do. The 100 people rule was something that I abided to very early on that helped me. The whole idea is that I have to talk to 100 people and then get somebody to say yes. The point though was that it could have been the first person that I talked to, or it could be the last person that I talked to that's going to say yes. As I got better and better, the ratio also improved. Now I only need to talk to about 4 people in order to sell one. But when I first started out, it took me quite a large amount of people and prospects to go through in order to find someone who was actually interested in making a purchase and be good enough in my pitch to communicate that. Next, consistency. You have to understand that consistency is key. Now, this is something that pretty much anybody in any space says, the importance of consistency, right? But when it comes to door-to-door, you'll feel it much quicker. Why? Because every single day, you're going out and you're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. The job does get quite monotonous. If you can be consistent though, then it'll beat talent 100% of the time. You have to consistently deliver the same pitch, consistently deliver the results at work, consistently have your routine that's super consistent. If you can keep a steady level of consistency, you are guaranteed success. And this is statistical. Let's say you're talking to 100 people every every 2 days, and you'll sell one. As long as your pitch doesn't change, and as long as you're being super consistent, then you will have that success, and it'll beat talent. Now, what's nice is the more consistent you are, the better that you'll get, the more you'll improve, the shorter that ratio becomes. But you have to develop that baseline, that you have to have the fundamentals down to a T in being consistent in order to see success. Lastly, you have to set goals, but not just setting goals in terms of, oh, I want to make $1 million. The goals that you have to have doing sales have to come down to the month, the week, the day, even the hour. How many sales are you going to shoot for this week? If you want to make $1 million, how much is that every month? How much is that every week? What do you have to produce every single day? In order to produce that every single day, what actions do you have to take? What time do you have to wake up? When do you have to be on the doors? How many people do you have to talk to? All of these are goals. So instead of having just a macro goal, you have to split it up into little pieces and chunks that you can aim and shoot for every single day. So you can come back, check off the boxes. As long as those boxes are being checked off, you will find the success that you are looking for. This also helps you to understand where you're falling short. If there's a day where I take a 5-hour break, I didn't talk to the 20 people that I was supposed to talk to. If I didn't talk to the 20 people I was supposed to talk to, I didn't make a sale. If I didn't make a sale, I don't make X amount of money this week, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of preparation that comes with door-to-door and being successful. First, you have to have a mastery of the pitch. You have to make sure that you actually understand what it is that you're selling and the product that you're going around talking to people about. Otherwise, when someone asks you a question, whether with buying intent or not, you won't have the proper answer, which means you will probably lose that sale. So the very first step is to make sure you have a fundamental idea of what's going on. Next, when you get dropped off in an area, the first thought that I have in my head is knocking a door and getting an interaction as quickly as possible. Too often I've seen people go out an area and spend an hour trying to do some magical research to find where the sale is going to come from. That does not work. You're just wasting time and excusing it by thinking that you're working. Go get an interaction as quickly as possible. Now, when you're actually in your neighborhood though, you should be doing things to ease your job. We call this prospecting. To prospect means to go around and identifying certain key points that might help you find a buying customer. The most simple ones are making sure that you're knocking on people who are actually home. Look for cars in the driveway. Look for doors that are open, windows that are open, lights that are on if it's nighttime. Now, depending on what it is that you're knocking, you also want to make sure that you're scouting around and looking for signs to help with your pitch. If I'm knocking for solar, I'm probably not going to be knocking on someone's door who already has 35 panels up on their roof. Oftentimes I'm looking for homes that maybe have a Tesla in the driveway or have some sort of EV, have nothing on the roof. Maybe they only have a few panels and I know that they might need more panels or no battery or whatever it is. The same thing when you're doing alarms, which is the industry I'm on. Oftentimes I'm knocking for doors that already have an alarm system so I can go switch them to ours. I've seen people from different industries, when I'm out knocking doors, they'll be knocking the same neighborhoods with me and they're knocking door after door after door after door, like 20 in a row, not skipping any of them. And out of the 20 that they knocked, 19 didn't answer. Why? Because no one's home. But it's important to be prospecting so you can save yourself a lot of time and then become very efficient in doing this. I'm a little biased. I think alarms is the best industry hands down. Why? There's a lot of potential with alarms. Nowadays, the alarm options in terms of payments are easing. And so a lot of people can qualify to actually get an alarm system or get an equipment financing option or whatever it is. And so the barriers of entry are low. Alarms is not the most difficult form of sales, but it's not the easiest. It's a really good medium where you can learn what I feel is the most amount of skills in the shortest amount of time. And these skills can be transferred to any other industry or profession. That's why I think alarms is that perfect medium. Not too hard, not too easy. And so I personally think if you're starting out, alarms is the best industry to get into. Now, people always ask me, who should I work for? Should I start my own company? Should I do my own window cleaning? Whatever it is. What you have to sit down and compare are bottom line margins. Before I started with Vivint, I was considering an option where I would have knocked for my own company. I would have started my own company. But what I quickly realized is that's a completely different ballgame. You're not now just talking about being in sales, but now you're talking about inventory management. You're talking about technician management. You're talking about payroll. You're talking about HR. You're talking about so many different things that add more and more and more and more to the plate. Personally, I think starting out, you should definitely work for a reputable company. Probably not a mom and pop shop, but a reputable company that you're going to make sure that they will pay you, preferably one that's publicly traded like Vivint, and one that's very clear and transparent with the money that you can make. You want to avoid the large promises, you'll have a Lambo in a year kind of thing. Oh, we'll make you a manager in 5 years if you just do this, 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 and this. What's really good for beginners or people who are just getting into the industry, it's really imperative to have a company that's very transparent, that you can get behind and that you can actually believe in. So the most important part probably of the entire door-to-door industry is your pitch. Now, I've been doing this for quite a while. I've knocked probably hundreds of thousands of doors in my career. I've been very bad at this job and I've been very good at this job. So I do feel somewhat qualified to discuss this, but let's look into it. Okay, first things first. We talked about this a little bit before. Right before you're approaching a door, you're looking for signs of life. Make sure you're putting yourself in a position where you can be efficient so you are more likely to have an interaction with that person because they are more likely to be home. Again, if you look at it, boil down, door to door is just statistics. It's just math. How many doors can I get through a day? How many interactions can I have from those doors? And then how many people can I make into a customer from those interactions? You get to a point where after you've done it for a while, you can be almost 99% accurate in how quickly you'll make a sale. So look for those signs of life. Make sure people are home. When you knock, don't knock like you're an ICE agent. Give a friendly knock. Step back from the door. You want to physically take a step back. Look down. Look busy. All these are small psychological tricks, and it might seem like it's not a big deal, but I promise you, again, in that game of statistics, these small differences will matter. So look busy, look down. I'm never looking directly at the door. I don't want to scare someone when they open the door, right? I want to stare them down. Usually I'm looking at a blank screen on my phone. My phone is closed. I'm looking at a blank screen, okay? When they open the door, I give it a second, then I look up, and you going into your pitch. Again, game of statistics. Sometimes when I say, hey, sorry to bother, they're like, oh, honey, you're no bother at all. Money motor, on. I'll be quick. I was just looking for the one in charge, the homeowner. Would that be you or somebody else? Again, in that game of statistics, I'm filtering out. Too often have I sat there and spent an hour pitching the daughter or the son who's freaking 16, right? You want to make sure that you're talking to the person that's in charge. So I say that every single door very early on. Hey, I was just looking for the homeowner, the one in charge. Would that be you or somebody else? And then you go into your actual pitch itself, moving towards the close, okay? So when you're on the door, after you're qualifying, you're disarming, you're making sure you're talking to the right person, then you move into your hook and then you're gauging their interest, okay? For me, my door approach looks something like this. All right, you the one in charge? Yeah, great. Ollie, Vivit, nice to meet you. I was swinging by because I saw you guys had XYZ alarm. I feel like everybody else, you had that for blah, blah, blah. Reason I was swinging by, because a lot of the neighbors have been liking the spotlight camera that we've been doing. This is what it looks like, my hook. Then I show them the spotlight camera. They're seeing a little bit of what it is that we have to offer, some of our products. After I'm showing them the product, I'm gauging their interest. Now, theoretically, if we were to earn your business, would you put this camera on the front, back, or both? They might say, I'm not interested. Oh, okay, gotcha. Move on. So if we were to do this, you don't think that'd be something you'd be open to talking about? Oh, no, I'm good. I have going by. I don't waste a lot of time. I'm not going to sit there and fight with them for 15 minutes, right? People ask, like, oh, how do you overcome all your objections? Why are your sales so easy? Because I'm filtering. The sales that you're seeing are easy sales because I made sure that they were easy customers to begin with, because my door approach is simple, right? So after all of this, of course, after you're engaging their interest, when you sense interest from a customer, the next step is to transition. Inside the home is where we proceed with the sale. We'll do the paperwork, we'll show them what they're getting, and then obviously close the deal. People often forget your pitch is super important because first impressions matter. It matters how they're perceiving you. It matters how fast you're talking. It matters how eloquent you are. It matters if you're friendly, if you're mopey, or if you're serious. All these things matters and will determine whether or not you will make the sale. And obviously, the more and more that you do this job, the more you develop that sense to change what you need to change with different. How do we handle objections? Two schools of thought. You handle the objection before the objection is set. As I've said multiple times in this video, door-to-door sales is statistical. And in statistics, you can typically develop patterns. You can identify patterns. Patterns tend to repeat themselves, but obviously they don't always have to. With that said though, in the door-to-door space, in sales, you can anticipate certain objections before they even come up. So this is the school of thought that I typically will use, which is handling the objections before they even come up. Price is too high, talk to my wife, let me think about it. Those are three that we're going to handle all in one. First of all, I'll talk to my wife. This one often stumps people. Here's the easiest answer to it. Don't talk to somebody without their significant other being there. Don't talk to one decision maker. Talk to both of them. Never, ever, ever pitch and try to close one decision maker. You might be some savant salesperson and maybe you have a super high close rate or what we call a one-legger, but oftentimes it does not work because it's a very easy scapegoat. Yeah, I'll talk to my wife. Where's your wife? Oh, she's in Canada. She won't be back for a month and a half. You clapped, right? What are you gonna sit there and do? Even if you get them to close, oftentimes those are the people that cancel super quick. Why? Because then they sign all the paperwork with you. You leave. They call their significant other. Hey, I'm gonna do this. Obviously, they're not a salesperson, but they're just gonna give them the super brief rundown. There's no value building, nothing. They're just giving them straight numbers or, whatever it is. And all the work that you put into overcoming objections, the value, all that, straight out the window. They give them some quick elevator pitch, probably not even that good. Spouse says no, boom, deal is done. You just wasted an hour of your time. So how do I handle that objection? I don't get that objection. Why? Because throughout my whole sales process, I make sure I'm talking to the decision maker. Maybe they say, yeah, it's me. I'm the decision maker. Cool. I'll continue with my pitch once I'm inside, once I'm moving towards my actual closing techniques. And now just make sure, are you the only one that makes a decision on this, or does somebody else have to be here? Very clear cut question, very straight to the point. There's no interpretation that goes on here. Are you the only one that makes the decision on this, or does somebody else need to be here? When they say, yes, I'm the only one, then I can move forward, but still with hesitation. Because again, more often than not, there's two decision makers. Or maybe they'll say, no, I need my wife here. Oh, what time does she get back? 7 o'clock? Cool, I'll see you then. Boom, I'm done. I'm not going to sit there and do that. Either we can come back and have this discussion properly, or I'm just not going to waste my time. You can go find it on Google, find it online, right? Next, your price is too high. How do you deal with that beforehand? Okay. Yeah. So typically Vivid's pretty expensive, depending on what it is that you get, right? You have a pretty big system. If it's too much, we can always take some stuff off, start smaller. After you give them the pricings, oh man, the price is too high. No worries. Remember what I said before? If it's too high, we can always take some stuff off. Do you feel like you would use this out of what we talked about? What would you use the most? Going back, I'm value building, whatever it is. Let me think about it. This is the killer of door to door. So here's what I do. Before I give them the price, hey, by the way, Mr. Johnson, just to make sure I don't waste your time and I don't waste mine, right? In theory, if everything were to make sense, would you be opposed to trying this out? Now at Vivid, we're grateful and very happy and lucky to have a trial period. It's a right of rescission period. There are different people that'll tell you different things, either use it or don't use it, right? I use it all the time. I don't see why not, right? Nothing sells just like a free trial does, okay? So I tell people, before I give them numbers, assuming everything were to make sense, would you be opposed to trying this out? Too much to ask? Oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. What did I just identify? Am I going to sit there and argue? No, this person probably is not a decision maker. After I say, hey, do you want to try it out? Let me think about it. Okay, yeah, no worries. Take all the time you need. I mean, again, we're going to be giving you a free trial so you can touch it, taste it, feel it, right? You can think about it with it here in your hand. That wouldn't be something you'd be interested in? No, I'm good. I'm not a decision maker. More often than not, though, 90% of the time, what do they say? I mean, yeah, if everything makes sense, I wouldn't be opposed to trying it out. I don't mind. Cool. Then I proceed with my sale, okay? Now I know that there is intent in their purchasing. And so as long as I make everything make sense, then this person would be willing to try it out, okay? And now it's my job to make sure that everything makes sense. So that's school of thought number one, is handling the objection beforehand. School of thought number two is obviously having the one-liners. For some reason, they say the price is too high after you've dropped price, right? And you have not prepared them for it. Then typically what I'll say to that is like, okay, I totally understand. At what price would this make sense? Again, very straightforward. I'm not going to sit and beat around the bush. If I'm unable to make a transaction because either I've messed up or this person's not interested, I'm going to move on to my next one. Tell me what you want and I'll tell you what I can get you for it. If they say $20, dude, no, that's not realistic. But if I drop price at, I don't know, $120 a month and they're like, my budget's at like 90, 95, right? Then we can take stuff down or I can lower the price, whatever it is, to make sure we get there. I'll talk to my wife. It's a tough one. It's a tough one if you get it and you did not prep for it. If you've gone through the wholesale for some reason and you drop price and you spend all this time and they hit you with the, I'll talk to my wife. Honestly, the best way to handle the objection is to try to come back and speak to the wife herself or have them call them right then and there. I'll do that pretty often. I'll be like, okay, cool, no worries. Can you give them a call? Can you give them a call? Or you can hit them with something like, hey, would she kill you? I just hate it so much, dude. Like, I don't ever get that objection. I don't get that shit because I handled it before. I'm not a goober. You are a goober if you're getting hit with that objection. Like, you're glad. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk to my wife, hit him with something like, well, I mean, obviously you married her, not me, right? Do you think she'd hate the system if we were to try it out? And then you could try to push for that close. But again, super, super unlikely. I actually do have like over a 90% close rate. That's factual. That's true. I'd probably say it's like 95. I'm a damn good closer. And not because I'm the best closer in the world, even though I am, because I'm just so efficient in finding people who are buyers. I don't waste time. And so in terms of like an attempted close that I fail or succeed on, yeah, it's about a 90% success rate. But anyways, here are the closing techniques that I like. Trial close. Try it. If you like it, great, keep it. If not, no big deal. Okay, we'll come take it back. Is that fair? Mind pressure? Right here, 0. Your option closes. Your option closes are super important. You never want to be like, hey, do you want the system, right? Hey, is this something you are interested in? Right? Unless I'm Hail Marying, unless I'm already about to leave because they said no 3 times, right? But if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I don't want to kind of just stop dead in the middle of the road and be like, so what do you think, right? So instead, we ask option closes. Do you want option A or do you want option B? Okay. You've probably seen this if you ever bought a car or whatever it is and you have to put a down payment. They're like, okay, do you want to pay with card or cash or check? Right? Option closes. They're getting you to say yes to something related to the deal without saying yes to the full purchase. So an option close that I like to do is how many cameras you want, right? So it goes like this. Do you want the full 360-degree view, right? So cameras on all 4 sides. Or do you want to start more basic? Or do you want to start more basic front, back, doorbell cam? 180-degree. You want 180-degree view or 360-degree view? And look how I'm doing with my hands on these motions. Like I'm already closing the view. But anyways, do you want a 180-degree view or do you want this 360-degree view, eyes all around the house, Fort Knox style? Let's end by talking a little bit about the expectations that you should have for yourself if you're starting door. I've seen people become dominant in 2 months. I've seen others that take multiple years. I've had reps that have done both. People that come out the gates super good, and then people that it takes them, a couple of years, a couple summers, actually get really good at this job. It really just depends on the amount of time that you are putting in. If you're knocking for, I don't know, let's say 7 hours a day, and then you come back home and you spend the next 4 hours playing video games, you're not going to beat the person that comes back home and spends the next 4 hours studying and learning and journey. I mean, I think this is pretty straightforward. You guys have probably heard it on Andy Elliott talk, or you've probably seen Hormozi talk about it, or all these like mindset gurus and stuff. And there is truth to it, right? It's like if you are putting in more work than the person next to you, you will become successful more quickly. So it really just depends on you. One thing I think it's important to remember, be disciplined enough to respect yourself when you're out there. When you're doing door-to-door sales, oftentimes there's no one that's breathing down your neck. At least this is what we do in our program. You're not clocking in and out per se. No one's like, tracking you every second of the day. You have autonomy to a degree as an adult, as an individual. So you have the choice to sit on a curb all day or actually work. But don't expect success if you're not working. It's like too often have I seen people be entitled and frustrated and whatever it is, but when you break it down, they're not putting in the work. Physically, they're actually not clocking the hours. So I think that's an important thing to kind of remember, that it's it's up to you to go out there and put in the hours. Also respect yourself enough not to talk back to customers. Don't be that asshole. Don't be the guy that gets put on blasted on TikTok. Respect yourself and respect the people that are around you, respect the customers. Sometimes you're knocking on people's doors, are not having the best day, and they'll cuss you out. Don't cuss them back. You just have to take it and move on. And that's kind of what develops that discipline in us as an individual. Don't carry the no from one door to the next. The doors themselves are independent events from each other. Just because one person says no does not mean the next person will say no. And if they do consistently, then there's probably a problem in your pitch. Or if they're super negative interactions, there's probably something going on. But just because one person says no does not mean the next 100 will. Again, going back to that numbers that we had talked about, the example that I gave before, right? It might take you 100 people to get a yes, but over a span of 1,000 doors, not everyone's going to say no, right? And you just have to remember that. And again, the better that you get, the ratio will decrease and decrease and decrease. But oftentimes, people will have one negative interaction and they let it ruin the rest of their day. Have the ability to drop it and move on. And it takes some practice to be able to do that. But I promise you, once you do, you'll find this job becomes super easy. The only thing that's left for you to do really is just to dive in and start knocking yourself. Don't waste time. Don't forget to subscribe for more of that door-to-door sauce. Yeah, buy my non-existent course, because it doesn't exist, because I don't charge people for anything, because I think value is more important. But if you want to work with me, feel free to book a call and schedule an interview.